at one point he made so much money, and then at one point he was selling his house.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mike Tyson. I mean, a lot of fighters that made millions and millions of dollars, they didn't know how to handle, the fame and the money. They end up broke. And you know what? With just 1 year, it hasn't even been a year that Andy Ruiz hasn't been a year that he became the world champion. And look, he went ahead and he bought a huge house. I don't follow him, but I hear from some of the guys. He bought a big house. He bought expensive cars, and he's living the life. And believe me, now this is what happens. He moved up a level. Now he has expensive friends because he's living an expensive life. He's no longer hanging around with his friends he used to have from high school. Now, because since he became a champion, he made millions of dollars. He met millionaires. Now he's hanging around with people that have a lot of money. So what happens when you go hang out with them? You have to live at their level. If they buy a bottle of champagne that is $1 million, he has to buy because it's friends. That's the way it is. Unfortunately, now he has to step it up, and living that life is not gonna last a long time.
Those are the words of Joel Diaz. Joel Diaz, of course, is known to train many fighters like Timothy Bradley. And he said that between this breakup between Andy Ruiz and Manny Robles, he simply said that, first of all, he's not judging. He wasn't judging Andy for what Andy was doing, but based on what he heard about Andy and Manny Robles, money changes you. It wasn't the fact that it was Manny's fault, but because we know that Andy Ruiz apologized to everybody, including Manny. So how could it be Manny's fault that Manny's out of the door, or he decided to axe Manny Robles? So Joel Diaz, his take on it was money. And a little bit, he was talking about how money, if you are not accustomed to having money, you're not going to know how to manage money. And he said his father gave him a saying. He says, boxing creates money. Money creates friends, and friends creates problems. Now, these friends that create that money created, those friends now, like Joel Diaz was saying, they're rich guys, they're rich people, but they know, they have insight. They either, if it's generational wealth, if someone that came from a rich family, he already is accustomed to knowing what to do with that money. He knows if he has $10 million, the last thing he wants to do is buy a $2 million car, because that's 20% of what his overall amount was, his overall take. So a guy that's rich like that will already see and have a projection ahead of time, versus Andy Ruiz, he doesn't know about this kind of money or this lifestyle, okay? And what starts happening, like Joel Diaz said, he gets new friends. He's not hanging out with the old friends. He has new friends, like Logan Paul, hanging out with him at like a birthday bash and things like that, and then you got to step it up, right? Because they're already on another level, so you got to get like them, right? So it's going to cost you problems trying to maintain that lifestyle. He said he bought, a house, bought 2 houses, bought a house for his mom, his house, a few cars, and he's doing it big. And he said $20 million is not going to last you 5 years. You'll be up under a bridge somewhere, and he gave examples of people that made more money than Andy Ruiz, like Mike Tyson. We seen that. Mike Tyson went bankrupt. Tito Trinidad, he had so much money at one point. Now all of a sudden he's selling his house. Those things like that, because you have to focus and understand when you buy stuff, if what you bought is not making you money, it's taking money. Okay? That's cars, insurance, maintenance, houses, property tax, overhead of the overall, water, gas, electric. Those bills are big. You ever imagine this? Imagine a bill at a 12-room, 6-bathroom mansion. right? Imagine the electric bill by itself. The electric bill is probably $2,000. You know, to heat and cool a house to that magnitude, and he has two of them. You know, a lot of people don't think of that. But of course, how would Andy know? Because Andy's never been in that situation. So he's just taking it as he's come, like, sure, I pay that bill, I'm paying this bill, no problem. But what happens if that money stops eventually, but the overhead and the responsibilities of having that money that he created continues. So if that continues, yeah, I believe that you will be broke. You know, you'll be broke quick because you're not maintaining the money, because that money is not going to last. Let's put it this way. Like Joel Diaz said, it hasn't even been a year and he's bought all this stuff. He's living the life. He made $20 million in 2019. Big, massive. He's only did that one time. That's his lottery, okay? Because you ask yourself, how much money will he make in 2020? 19, 20 million. 20, that's to be determined. We don't know how much money that he's going to make this year. He doesn't even know. And I tell you this, since he only made $20 million one time, but he has a $20 million lifestyle. You know, so based off of what he's buying and stuff like that, he's going to have to keep it up, and he's going to have to continue paying for the responsibilities of that money. That money comes at a cost, especially if you're buying stuff left and right. You know, he might buy a yacht. You buy a yacht, you're going to be broke. A yacht by itself is about $5 million. You know what I mean? Some yachts are $6 million, $10 million. You know, they're mini cruise ships down there. But Andy Ruiz, I think, like Joel Diaz said, and I agree with him 100%, he needs someone to mentor him. He needs someone that, you know, one of those friends. He needs an older friend, not the friends of his age or whatnot that live life like that because they're accustomed to that type of lifestyle, because they're making that money over and over and over again. That money is making money for them. Okay? Then they're making more money, you know, so because they have other investments in that. But I did hear Andy Ruiz has a apartment complex. But even though you got to have tenants, let's say all the tenants moved out, right? You got to get tenants back in there, and you have to pay the overhead on the bills that there is. Because if you don't, that's going to foreclose, you know. So it could easily happen to Andy. If it can happen to Mike Tyson, it can happen to Andy Ruiz. If it can happen to Felix Trinidad, it can happen to Andy Ruiz. You know, and again, these guys, Felix Trinidad and Mike Tyson, made more money after money. Andy Ruiz just did this one time, 1 year. 2 times, 1 year. Okay, so that's something to really think about. So Joel Diaz knows, and I know he speaks from experience with Manny Robles back to the split, because him and Timothy Bradley split up, and then they were tight. You know, so it can happen, but money does change you. Money will have you thinking that you need to do this, or you can do that, or you have the liberty to do this, or you have the liberty to do that. It gives you a whole different mindset. You know, oh, I got money now. And if you don't keep some of those old friends that you're accustomed to, your new friends are going to get you broke. You know what I mean? And I look at the proposal of Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz turned down a Dillian White fight. I don't know if it was $4 million, $5 million, but that's money that he should consider and put back. You know, but if he's turning down offers expecting, oh, well, I'm going to get a bigger offer, he may. But then again, based on what you just lost. Remember, Andy Ruiz is on the redemption list for a reason, because he had everything in his hands. All he had to do is he didn't even really have to knock Anthony Joshua down. He had to have the ability to cut off the ring, put pressure on Joshua, right? And convince those judges of a win, right? Which he didn't do. And it was like he let that go, just slip through his hands by not even being prepared, right? And I know a lot of people give him stick about that, but they should, because he knew what he had to do and he didn't do it. But that shows you right there, if money that you create, that $7 million that you receive, if that $7 million persuaded you, hindered you from going into the gym, working your ass off to get something that you never had, you know, because you've got something you never had because you did something you never done, and you can't even, and money stops you from doing it again. That's bad news, man. That's real bad news. And I'm with Joel Diaz. I think he should go to someone, maybe his father, because his father, you know, he's listened to his father in the past. But the bad news is, you know, his father couldn't even convince him to get in the gym. Like his father said, it was the worst training camp he ever had. He didn't listen. He didn't pay anybody any mind. But it's going to have to start with Andy, because he's going to have to realize that, hey, you know, I need counsel. I need people that's in my corner, that's not around me to hang out with me, for me to spend my money and spend my money, right? That's someone that cares for my well-being. So when I do get broke, will those same friends be there? So that's the question he needs to ask himself, because he has to want to listen to someone. You know, you don't have to listen to someone, especially when you got $20 million. So it's kind of hard to hear anybody. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear that shit. But anyway, those were the words of Joel Diaz on Ruiz leaving Manny Robles and his new lifestyle. You guys tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.